Let's return to Syria now. The Prime Minister, as we've been saying, is meeting the French President Nicolas Sarkozy to discuss what's happening in the country. Last night, the UN General Assembly passed that resolution calling for political change, for President Bashar al-Assad to relinquish power and get some sort of political transition in place. Joining me in the studio, Middle East commentator Nabila Ramdani. Good to see you, as always. The General Assembly, first of all then, what impact, if any, will that have?
Well, in fact, the resolution will in principle rank up the pressure against President Assad and make it abundantly clear to him that the international community is absolutely appalled by the relentless and indiscriminate killing of his own people. In practice, however, it is a statement of the obvious, and it will do absolutely nothing to alleviate the suffering of thousands of men, women, and indeed children. And it has to be stressed that the resolution has no legal power, no legal authority whatsoever. So it's nothing more than a statement of principle. And what's particularly disturbing is that it comes after a year almost of killing. And yet it has no power, as I said, to put an end to this violence.
I mean, it highlights as well, doesn't it, the UN is not united. I mean, it's the usual suspects, if we can put it that way, but Russia and China on the Security Council who veto any resolution there.
Very much so, and I think what it brings to the fore is that there is no appetite, in particular from Western governments, to intervene militarily in Syria. They made that abundantly clear, and the cynics would say that it's convenient, in fact, for them to keep blaming Russia and China for putting their vetoes, because it allows them not to envisage other solutions.
Well, that takes us neatly on to what's happening today, doesn't it, with David Cameron meeting Nicolas Sarkozy, and we know this is going to be very much top of the agenda at their meeting today. And as you say, an unwillingness to intervene militarily, and yet there could be some significant moves today, couldn't there? I mean, offering perhaps more diplomatic support to the Free Syrian Army. I mean, that is still an important move, one would imagine.
Well, the meeting in Paris today sounds quite significant, because let's not forget that Britain and France are precisely the two countries which started bombing Libya because of a threat of Colonel Gaddafi on civilian populations. Now in Syria, of course, it's the UN resolution is a mere condemnation of the actual killing of civilians by the Syrian regime. So perhaps the French will, and the British will take further diplomatic moves to try and pressure the Assad government further. But let's not also forget that the French and the British are precisely the two countries which resorted to illegal means to get rid of Gaddafi, including the use of British special forces, and indeed the French armed the rebels in Syria. There are also claims in Syria that the Free Syrian Army are being equipped in terms of weapons by neighboring countries. Lebanon and Turkey are black markets where you can buy weapons, and it has been the case for generations.
Nabila, appreciate your time. Thank you. Now, 14 shops a day are being forced to close their doors as retail sales fall and shoppers turn to online and out-of-town retailers. A study of 500 of Britain's biggest town centres reveals that more businesses are now closing than opening, adding to fears about the future of the UK's high streets. Nick Martin reports.
For the first time since 2009, more shops are closing on Britain's high streets than are opening. Here in Altrincham in Greater Manchester, a staggering quarter of all shops lie empty, with more of us shopping online and business